Taylor Dayne, my friend, thank you so much for spending my 250th episode with me.
Wow, bravo.
Listen, it ain't no number ones, but,
It's beautiful.
and I'll share this story and probably in a bonus content at the beginning of this about how we missed each other at the wrong coffee shop in Santa Barbara, which still makes me laugh.
Too funny. It is. Well, but there was 2 of them. You should have told me that.
I know. I forget that you were new to Santa Barbara. I was like, oh,
Completely.
right. You were like, I'm here. And I'm like, I'm here. And then I went, oh, shit, she's downtown.
Jesus. I was like, "What do you mean there's 2? This place can't be big enough for 2. No way." So, yeah, I was like, "Fucking Steve." Hi, this is Taylor Dayne, and you are entering a world gone good for the 250th time.
Well, hello, my name's Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light on everyday people making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good's 250th episode. Okay, where do I even begin? I guess I begin where we began, on October 7th, 2020, when we launched 3 good episodes all at once to see if anyone would be interested in coming aboard this here good moving train. And 250 of them later, I guess we have our answer. I'd like to begin today's special episode by thanking you, yes you, whether you've listened to every single show or this is your first time joining us, thank you. This show was sprung from this idea I had in this thick head of mine that there was still good out there and someone just needed to highlight it. So I decided to be that someone. And you decided to be that someone yourself by listening and following and sharing this here World Gone Good. So again, I want to say thank you. And I also want to congratulate you on helping us get to, altogether now, number 250. Now, we've had some special anniversary shows before for our 100th and our 200th. And so I knew our 250 needed to have a little, little extra bling. And what better bling could one hope for than our extra good guest, a Grammy-nominated American Music Award-winning recording artist and star who has conquered the top 20 on the Billboard Hot 100 17 times. She starred on Broadway, wowed us on The Masked Singer, and even beaten cancer. That's the kind of 250th bling I'm talking about. And of course, I am talking about the one and only bling spectacular herself, Taylor Dayne. You heard in the cold open at the top of the show, we were supposed to record a while ago at a coffee shop in Santa Barbara. Only the coffee shop I suggested had 2 locations. I went to one and she went to the other. And so our record session got put on a pause until now, which in some ways serves perfectly because timing is everything. And this did sure turn out perfectly time-wise and timing-wise for our 250th episode. So without further ado, here comes Taylor Dayne, primed and ready to tell it to our hearts. See what I did there? Okay, I'm going to start this by giving a quick little story. So my friend Kathy texts my husband Jim and says, "Do you guys want to come over for some cocktails tonight?" We say, "Sure." She then texts back, "My friend Taylor's going to stop by." As a joke, we text back, "Swift?" ? And she writes back, "No, Dane." We think she's kidding. We get to Kathy's house. We have some snacks. We have some drinks. Knock at the door. A salty lady comes in. And there's a reason I'm saying that, because she's with me right now. My friend Taylor Dayne, thank you for being here. Do you know why I call you a salty lady? Do you remember how you entered that day?
No, of course not.
You were fresh from the beach.
Oh, yeah.
You love the beach.
My favorite place here.
I know.
My favorite place here in California. I'm in Santa Barbara area, but I have my favorite beach here, which is just as picturesque and as magical as I remember when I used to go to the beach in the early 70s and all that stuff as a child. And it's magical, peaceful.
But that was a different beach because I'm imagining that was like Jones Beach.
No, even worse, Fire Island. My parents used to take us to Fire Island, and as I got a little older, I went off with the girlfriends and the friends, and we were doing Jones Beach, no doubt. And Point Lookout, they had like cabanas and stuff. And so as a family, we'd go there and have a locker and things.
Now you got to Kathy's house, you brought your lovely children and some of their friends.
No way.
Yes, you did, and you had the pleasure of meeting me. Do you remember how you felt when you first met me?
If it was at Kathy's house, I'm sure I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I'm sure there was wine and vegan food, so what more could we want, right?
Exactly, vegan cheese. I'm like, "Oh god." Well, the kids, they'll eat anything, but yeah, I've got you.
All right, I'm going to throw a bunch of things at you that I find interesting. Maybe you'll find interesting. Maybe you've been asked this before.
Sure.
First question I have for you is what do you remember to be the first piece of music, the first song that you ever heard? Do you remember?
It's funny. I grew up in a household where, in New York, from what I can recall from like those early years, we were now living in Long Island. And my parents, Sunday was their big family day. So I had two other brothers, an older and a younger. Again, this is from what I recall. He was always there. I don't recall before my younger brother was there. Music was wafting through the house. It was usually a musical of some nature or something that my parents were really hung up on because they were avid theater goers, off Broadway, like La Mama and the Pap and things of that nature because, they couldn't afford this stuff. And this was late 60s, early 70s. But they were really into finding groundbreaking artists and things. So I remember hearing like Man of La Mancha or the Fantastics or Pia just singing French classics, and then I certainly was attuned to what they were playing. And then I grew up in apartment buildings, so there was music coming from all the teenagers that were listening to the radio. And one babysitter that stayed with us for a long period of time, she was a friend of she was the daughter of a friend of my mom's. And she'd come in and she'd have her little radio box. And in those days, it could be like a ball. It said like Sony. It looked like a little, or it was like it was just so cool looking. Everything was just so like mid-century cool looking, or hippie-ish. For me, the biggest one was Stevie Wonder, My Sharia Moore. And then I remember hearing, Just Call Me Angel of the Morning. And it definitely wasn't Juice Newton. It was
Right,
some
right.
other, yeah, it was the original, like, Just Call Me that baby. And then, of course, Karen Carpenter. And then all what the teenagers would listen to around the pool because we had a community pool. And that could be, I mean, there wasn't many radio stations. Think about it. And I grew up in New York, so it was WABC. So, like, by 72, or 70, like, I just remember hearing, like, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the ink is black, and then, the page is white, or Chicago, like, ba 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 ba,
Those
in the
horns,
park.
those beautiful horns. Yep.
Oh my god, and
Yeah.
everything and anything. Then Al Green and Marvin Gaye, oof, Aretha.
So these all impacted you.
Most definitely. What impacted me most is that I actually took what I was hearing and started to replicate it. I started to imitate it because it was a safety place for me. And I started getting a little bit of attention. And this is at like 4 or 5 years old because I was actually pretty good.
Oh, I bet. Wait, can we go back to Man of La Mancha for 1 second?
Sure.
Because I would absolutely kill to hear your version of The Impossible Dream. Not now.
Mm,
I'm just saying in general what you would do with that.
I don't know, but my father passed away in January. And one thing I played was for some reason while he was in hospice at home and going through it all, I had such a beautiful journey with him on his passing. And I played that song for him. I played the songs that I remember him playing back in the day. And one of them was in To Dream the Impossible Dream.
Yeah, that was one of my dad's absolute favorite songs, and I was with him through hospice, and I was with him when he passed,
Imagine.
and
Yeah,
I brought that up at his service
sure.
because he loved that song.
There's a few of them. I also played Born Free for my dad because he turned me on to that as a young girl, and that became and I remember listening to the Born free as the wind blows. I mean, all these things had such impact, but as you're going through the passing of somebody, so my father was the love of my life, you know? And I just kept going and going and going and finding all these places in the space of my head and my heart, and playing them was just like it was so healing.
Yeah, and your dad really believed in you. Your dad gave you a $6,000 loan to record your first demo.
My dad gave me my first car. My dad gave me my first Cougar. My dad gave me the money to record my demo. My dad believed in me. My dad believed in me.
Were there times when you didn't believe in yourself and he was the one who got you there?
Not like that. I think the encouraging thing was he saw a very determined young lady, and he made decisions based on 3 children, but he'd sit down with me and goes, "This, daughter, is the what I will do, and this is how I'll get you through here, but then you're gonna have to figure things out on your own, daughter." And I'd be like, "Okay." But he was never he had to do this down the line, I guess, or with my other brother and my other brother, so I took it very respectfully. There wasn't, like, things where you had one parent against another kinda thing. It was like this was, he was the man of the house, he was the man, period, to me.
God, we were raised by the same dad. My dad was from Brooklyn
Yeah,
and the same. And I have
Bronx.
a Bronx, there you go. And I have
Yeah.
an older sister and an older brother. And my brother's a concert pianist who I mentioned this on here
Mm,
before. He's played for the Boston Pops and he teaches at the Boston Conservatory of Music, which I think now has a
beautiful.
different name. Yeah. Well, I'll have to introduce you him sometime. Let me ask you this. Do you still consider yourself a Long Island girl?
Hmm, New York for sure.
Yeah.
Long Island, I mean, it's so funny because, born in New York City Hospital, raised in the Bronx and then Long Island, and then like, when I go to New York and I'm in the city, like, there's moments, when and then back to the city, obviously not until 20, but I I I I love it. I'm so proud that I was raised there, I was born there, and what I know of New York and at the '80s and '90s in New York were, I mean, late '70s, I guess, too. But the '70s to me, no matter where I was just the most profound era for obvious reasons. It was my learning ground, my training ground, but also I saw so much experimental music. And then, of course, then going and taking that into the city where I could sneak in and from school and everything else, and then just start using New York City as a playground. It was just so creative and experimental in the '80s. It was unbelievable.
I want to ask you about a song and about music. When you get a song, when you get the sheet music, when you get the singer-songwriter's track version of it for you to listen to, what are you looking for? What are you hearing? What's the connection? What is it changing each time? Is it the lyric? Is it the sound? What is the connection for you?
Well, when I get something, I always listen to the music first, not necessarily a lyric or melody. You listen to the music, and then, of course, if it's a song like written by, like Diane Warren or something like, the great writer, there's a rough melody on there and there's a rough lyric. And you really have to transpose it and see where you can fly with it, see where it fills your soul. It's like a balloon. You're taking it in, you're inhaling it, and then you're actually finding the crevices of where it reaches you, and what you can do with it is the interpretational side of things. And that's everything. That's the mastery.
You want to
That's
be you want to be distinct.
I don't know if distinct's the word. You have to internalize stuff like that. I don't know. And I never judged it when I was doing it because it's like until you get a hit record, you're like, I don't know. I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for my band. I'm doing it for this. It's not like that until you realize you're healing people. You're touching people. That's when you know. That's how you measure. by popularity, right? That's a measuring stick in some levels. There's so many songs that I remember when I was in the process of making records, they'd be like, "No, that's not a good cover. No, that wasn't a good cover." But they didn't mean it didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, because 'cause you're trying to please so many different people when you're on a record label.
Well, when you're in that motion and that's what you're doing, you're charting and you're making hit after hit, or you're aspiring for that. I was a pop artist. I mean, that was like the top of the tops, baby, the top of the pops.
Well, you did fairly well, my friends.
Yeah, 17 top 20 hits, yes.
3 number 1 singles that all started with a song called "Tell It to My Heart," which I looked up. It's about to become 40 years old
Yeah,
in a year from now. Isn't that amazing?
it's past amazing. It really is. It's just, time is always going and always moving. Things are always changing, but pleasantly and shockingly and surprisingly and just magically.
So "Tell It to My Heart," you go and you record this track.
The first is you gotta find and record and do. I was already working with my producer partner, which was Rick Wake, and we were writing and we were working with, there's a whole scene in New York going on, that I'm entering and going to. And he was from London, which is ironic, he was from Birmingham. We just loved each other and we were just young, 19, 20, 21. And I had already been recording and been in enough 2 bands by then. I mean, like, you start this stuff at 15, 16. I was already in bands. Yeah.
But you didn't have a record deal yet. You weren't on a label.
No, but I had showcased with another band called Felony. We had showcased for an LA label, for multiple labels already. And I mean, I was young and I was like, okay, you know what you want to do very young, like me, and you just work, work, work and work. And I mean, it's a real outlier place I was in. And I was so grateful for it because, so many people didn't know what they wanted to do. And I was just like, I'm gonna be singing, I'm gonna be, pop star, I'm gonna be rock star. I don't think we thought pop star really. We thought rock star. That's how it was.
Yeah, because you and I once talked about this. We were having coffee one time, and I said to you once, I said, "Do you see yourself as a diva? Do you see yourself as a Whitney or Celine?" And you said, "No, you see yourself as a Tina or a Cher."
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been my performance level, my entertainment. Yeah, I'm definitely more in that wheelhouse. Pink, that kind of stuff. Totally. I've always been more ostentatious and just more, theatrical and more rock and roll on stage. Powerful.
Yes, no, trust me, your voice and you as a human being are powerful things.
Oh,
In a good way. No, that's a good thing.
oh, it is a good way.
Yeah. I was listening to Brandy Carlisle on Amy Poehler's show, and she was saying the part that freaks her out the most is not the singing, is not being on stage, is not being in front of people. It's the 15 seconds she has to patter in between songs.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
So I wanted to ask you, does that hook you? Does that get to you, or are you're in your moment?
In her case, I can understand because she's been in this really incredible ascension, but she also works with a lot of other people that are living and working through her. Joni is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
You know, the Joni Mitchell, not resurgence, but the part of all these accolades and Brandy being a conduit, just this incredible instrument for Joni to live her music through and fulfill fans' needs. And I could see where she in between feels like, wow, what am I doing? What am I doing? There's a lot of voice chatter. I could see that. But she of her own is such a talented artist, but that's just the mind taking over and putting shit in your head. But there is those 15 seconds or whatever it is, however long you time it, where you just don't feel like you belong up there, or what are you doing? Like, oh my God, I'm being caught alive. Like, look at me, like they're gonna hang me. That's the self-doubt and that's the self-criticisms and don't get me wrong, we all have them.
Do you love being on stage still?
Yep, 100%. There's a moment, and there's many of those moments where there's nothing between you and your audience. So when you are in that euphoria of it, and when things are going right, which is 98% of the time not what happens. There's always some technical crap going on, something going on, or you're peeved by your guitar player, or all the other elements, or the dance. It doesn't even matter. Something technical, because you live in your head up there, and it's nothing as the performer you show to the audience. You can't share it either until you turn around and maybe look at your band. But yes, this is this elevation that takes place. It's not unlike the runner who tells you they've reached that the dopamine, the serotonin. It's the same feeling when you're up there. You're achieving incredible highs.
And your audience is feeling it too, and there's that connective thing. There's that connective tissue at a concert.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting there through the audience. There's the frequencies. These frequencies are joined. We are joined together, and so we are having a conversation. Oftentimes, it just feels like we go there to see somebody, but that's not it. You go there to feel somebody. You go there to feel the artist, relive, recapture. There's like nine, all your sensories are completely loaded for that moment. You shouldn't be shut down. Even people that have come to me that have, problems in wheelchairs and things, people that have issues, health issues, to, hearing issues, to mental capacity issues. Feeling and music and tempo it's extraordinary, very healing and very moving.
Okay, couple things I want to talk to you about. Number one, Tig Notaro.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Tig is just one of those, one of those comedians that found a riff in me. We would bump into each other all the time. Apparently, these aren't things I always remember. And, I might say, well, I'm not a diva, but who the fuck knows? Steve, who the fuck knows? Like, I'm living in my bubble too, everybody. I could see a lot of chicks like that, a lot of people. So I'm just going about my day and somebody's like, "Oh, I really love your voice." Thank you. Okay, that's cool. Like, and then sometimes if it's 3 times in 1 week and I think it's the same girl, I'm probably like, "Really? Well, what voice?" Now I'm trying to dig in. What voice do you love? Is it my speaking voice that turns you on, or is it my singing voice? Because I think I was bumping to her very randomly and a lot. And she probably said it the same, like, monotone way. "I just have to tell you, I love your voice." You know?
That was good. That was a good Tig. That was good.
But I don't, I don't hold anything to it, but she built you know, this whole incredible skit around it, and quite frankly, yeah, we're very friendly, and, um, over the years, we found a lot of fun reliving that skit. Believe me. She's a great, great inspiration. She's a formidable human being.
My husband, Jim, who used to, in LA, walk from our house over to Cedars-Sinai, where he was a nurse, and almost same time every morning. And literally 4 days a week, 5 days a week, Jane Lynch just
Mm,
happened to be walking. And they almost every single time met up at the same point. At first, I was like, nod. Second time was like,
right,
oh, hey. Third time was good morning.
right.
I think after the second week, she was started giving him the side eye, and then it became like a running joke.
What's up? Yeah.
Yeah, like, why? Right, this is getting weird. But then many years go by, many years, and my friend Mary Weiss, who went to college with Jane, Mary's been on this show. Jane and her are very good friends. And we all got together one time in Montecito, and we showed up for breakfast. And Mary didn't tell me she was bringing Jane.
Wow.
I knew that she was there to see her, and I thought it was just going to be the three of us. Well, Jane walks over with her lovely wife, Jennifer, and hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet, looks at Jim and gives him like the most, and has that like
Yeah.
flashback. And they hadn't seen each other in like 10 years. And Jim said, yeah, it's me. I'm the guy who used to bump into you. And Jane started laughing, and Jane said, I told you this guy. Remember this guy? And here's a good point, everybody listening. The good part. Jim had on his scrubs.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. He must have had scrubs on.
Yes. So
What the hell was she doing on the streets? That's what I wanna know.
early morning walk. She was getting her steps in before the masses of West Hollywood went crazy, I suppose. But it was the same kind of thing you did with Tig.
Exactly.
It's funny how the world works.
No, it's just, we are living beings, and you start seeing Jane Lynch every morning and she starts seeing a guy in scrubs, but she should have put that together. He was going to the clinic. I've obviously. But I mean, that's just funny. It's just humor in our lives.
Tell us about The Masked Singer.
Oh, The Masked Singer.
Yeah, good experience, great experience, exciting?
Amazing, amazing. So fun.
Yeah, how hard is it to hear inside the head piece?
Oh, it's all fucking brutal. Because you're wearing something like an apparatus, and some worse than others. Mine was, 4 feet high on the head. So
Right?
you have your inner ears and you have another mic pack inside a mic pack because they're miking you inside there to sing. And you also then have to sing through a little hole because there's a microphone outside. And I was like, we would record in the studio, but then they'd record live while you're singing. So it was, and they also had a talk back mic on you. It was just, and not very comfortable. But at the same time, you're working with the most esteemed choreographers. Like every song had you were with a different crew, choreographers, set designers, costume designing was just insane, over the
Yeah.
top. Like I got to play I loved Pop. She was amazing. It's popcorn. I went right into it, didn't I? I was like, "Hi, hi, how are you? Hello." Ooh, I loved her. I loved her bouncy skirt, and like sometimes you can barely see, maybe one hole you can see out of the eye, and then the mouth. Like it just depends on how big it was on you. And then I said to them they had too many hula hoops on her at one point. I was like, I can't even lift my knees. I go, I'm little. And they're like, they would just customize everything. It was absolutely a fantastic time. I did it during COVID. And that was one of the first shows that actually got back into live taping, and which was accepted because it was masked. We were so masked
Right,
from the top to bottom.
right.
Yeah.
That's so funny too because they manipulate the voices, but what you just didn't need that much manipulation. I'm sure there was
No,
right?
that's right. I tried. I gave it my all, baby.
And also what's fun about it is, like, I remember seeing it, and as soon as you sang a first note of your very first song, I was like, "Taylor Dayne." Like, I knew
No.
right like, there's certain people because I know the voice. You know who
Sure.
else I knew? You know who I knew right away? This is crazy. Laverne Cox, who is not known for being a singer. But
No, that's
Laverne
interesting.
Cox, I heard the voice and I went, "I know that voice because it was a kind of a talk singy song that she did, and I was like, "Oh, that's Laverne Cox," right away. Yeah, that's good times.
I always wonder whether the judges do or not, which I mean, they're so good. So I'm pretty sure. But, it was so fun. It was a great, yeah, I loved it. I loved the character. I loved getting into it all. And I loved being working like during a time where the world was so shut down. It was a communicative tool. It was really beautiful.
You did Broadway with Elton John.
I sure did. Well, yes, his music, him and Tim Rice, it was Aida. So that was a wild experience because I'd worked with Mel Brooks as well. Um, and I worked with the great Jules Stein to deliver Funny Girl to the stage again. And this was obviously in the 90s. And he was definitely suffering from his liver, impairment and age. But he was so encouraged and just took me in and just said, "You're my new funny girl." It was just, there's been some really incredible moments when it comes to theater and people and working with certain, iconic legends that just enormous.
For Aida, were you doing 8 shows a week?
Yeah, hell yeah. I was doing Broadway.
Wow.
That's the deal. That is how it works.
What's the discipline like for that?
The discipline for me was shutting it down. That's it. I didn't do much. Like you work, it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Wednesday was double. Saturday's double, matinee and then evening show, and then Sunday, one show. Monday's dark. That was our gig.
You just said you didn't do much, my friend. That's
No, I mean, I didn't do anything other than
yeah,
what
yeah,
I did. I
yeah,
went back
that's
to
a
my
lot though.
apartment. I locked
Right.
myself in my apartment and I went back and I take the train or take my puppy with me, Isabella Rossellini, Izzy, and then she would my little pug, and we had your family is in the theater. That's it, you know? You wake up, you get up, you get to the theater. Bottom line, you keep your voice shut, you get to the theater, you start hair and makeup. That's it.
But exciting because a Broadway audience ain't nothing like a Broadway audience.
No. And I had to learn that because I was so like, this is so not what I do. Like, it is so different than live music because, I'm playing a character when I'm in a Broadway show. When you're doing theater, you play a character. You're not you. So I had to start understanding the discipline, but I also did the discipline came easier. It was just being the character that I found over time. You can't really you're in a part. So it was interesting. It's not a live concert, to say the least. You're part of the cast, as you will.
And a machine in some ways.
Well, I was part of the Disney machine, so that was a machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Aida. That was Disney. That was Disney production, one of their biggest, their first. Yeah, but it did very well. It was amazing. I did it with Heather Headley, the Tony winner, and Adam. These were top of the line. And I had done some other stuff. God, when we were workshopping the show, it was with Audra McDonald and so many other people. So it takes a long time. It was like 5 years between workshop to actual stage. Long, long time. A lot of writing sessions. Elton coming in going, no. And I wasn't there for the all 5 years. I'm like, thank God I have a day job. Shit, bye. But I'm just telling you, theater's something else.
Switching over, I want to ask you 2022 colon cancer.
Mm, yeah,
I know there's a big switch we just made over here for everybody listening.
sure. Yeah, I started going, I went for my colon. I was like 52 when I went in, and I wasn't in any rush. And then they were like, I don't even remember the first doctor I went to, but he was like, we need to discuss your colon being removed. You have like 75. I was coming out of anesthesia, first of all, when he's screaming all this stuff.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, what is he saying? What is he saying? My son was there. He was 18. And my girlfriend, I was like, I don't even know what he's 7 to 5. Is that a lot of polyps? 75? That seems like, how could I walk with 75 polyps? And then they're like, slow it down, take the meeting with him, go and he goes, I recommend you're you make polyps. And then I dialed it back, got another opinion. And it turned into this watch, like going every 6 months and not doing the severe colonectomy at the time and removing my colon, nothing like that. And I went along like that for about 5 years until I get a call from him and he goes, yeah, very aggressive cancer has formed in the last 6 months in one of your polyps and it's very enlarged and gorge. And you have about 9 days and this is when we're going to do it. And this is what I think you should do and blah, 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 blah. Hold on for Alba. Click. I was like, what? The thing you find with colon cancer and colon issues in general is that, I didn't have feelings or signs or anything. And then also, quite frankly, it's pretty deadly pretty quick. That's the thing with colons. Like creeps up on you suddenly, and then you realize you're losing a person because they had colon cancer because they had no idea or that it was too far gone or it's aggressive. Yeah. So I caught it at the beginning because I was going every 6 months, but to have an aggressive form within 6 months, I listened to him. So within 10 days, we were doing the surgery, and I had a hard time coming out of the surgery. We had a lot more going on, and a lot more happened to me during that surgery. But fast forwarding, I'm alive and well, and I'm living in paradise. Let's put it that way, up in Santa Barbara. And I became such an advocate for early detection. So I really understand that. Go get your PAPs, go get your breast, for women in general. And then, of course, hooking up with WACOL and for the Susan B. Komen Foundation for breast cancer awareness. And just, I didn't even think colon cancer for women. I thought it was more of a man's disease.
Right.
Like, I have to be honest. And everybody's like, no, it is not, gender specific. Like, get in there. So, so many of my friends just like, God, man, Taylor, thank God. And it just became more talked about, I guess, so I go in.
Our 2026 slogan motto for this show for the year, we have one every year. It is say yes. So I'm asking my guests, Taylor Dayne, what are you saying yes to right now?
Whew, so much. Yes, yes, yes. Yes to my new life. Yes to where I live. Yes to perceiving things. Yes to tons of work. Yes to not being in control. Yes to being in control. Yes is a big word. I love that word. Anytime my boyfriend says no, I said, say yes.
We're in the same relationship. Your friend Jim says no all the time. And I go, you want to rethink that? I'll give you a minute.
I'll give you a minute. No, I go back to him. I'm like, negative Nancy just came into the room. Thank you, nasty negative Nancy. Get out. I don't want that today. He goes, I'm not mad. I'm not. Because that's all you got to do. Poke fun at the bear. Boy, oh boy. He's like, fine, fine. Yes, yes, yes. There you go. I say yes to a lot.
But we close these shows with 3 questions. Don't worry, you know the answers. The easiest one is the first one. Where do people find you? I mean, come on, not hard here. Where do they find you? Where do they follow you? Where do they find out where the next set of concerts are going to be?
Oh, the usual. Instagram, The Real Taylor Dayne. Instagram. My website is taylordayne.com. And of course, those at Meta, Facebook, Twitter, all over there, YouTube. But don't forget, there's a Y in the last name. That's what I find a lot of fans forget. Dayne. They still think I'm that Dane. No, there's a Y in there, like Taylor Dayne. 2 Ys.
The second to last question is this. It can go back to anything, anyone you want to mention. Who inspires you?
Interesting. The world, nature. It's not a who so much. I'm very inspired by nature and my, every day, my grounding practices, the work I do. My desire, my fire, my flame inside of me is still burning brightly. I've always had this ambitious nature. It's the fear that always quiets things down. It's not necessarily your friend, it's the fear. Inspiration comes from watching more artists and watching other artists and questioning, I think. Yeah.
And the final question is not a question, it's a statement to finish. And I know when I say this, like so many people just like you're going to start singing. But I need you to finish this statement. You'll know it when I say it. Goes like this. Tell me something good.
Tell me something good. That's all I
Wow,
can think about.
wow. Exactly.
Tell me, tell me, tell me. The great Shaka Khan.
Tell me something good.
You want an answer? Spring is sprung. Spring is here. Chances, mobility. Reach with it. Reach out. Grow. Go to the light.
Thank you, Taylor Dayne, for spending our 250th episode with us. Next time on World Gone Good.
We are doing better now than we were 100 years ago. That doesn't mean to say we don't take our foot off the gas. We have a bunch of bullshit that's been happening. Freedoms are being taken away, liberties are being challenged, and it's terrifying, to be perfectly honest. But that shouldn't result in people losing the thread that what you are doing matters, and how you talk with your community and how you try to raise up your friends, your family members, your brothers, your sisters. Don't ever stop that, because the good's going to win.
Matt Hallis has a passion for monitoring the health of the earth and its global citizens. And he does this each and every day as a manager of geospatial practice at Dev Global. Let me break it down for you in easy language. Matt is creating remote sensing and satellite-based solutions to problems facing the entire planet. We are talking everything from programs related to neglected tropical diseases, regenerative agriculture, improving climate resilience of cities, and reducing the digital divide. Trust me, you're going to feel way smarter after listening to our next all-new good episode. Until then, be good.